Hey guys, new week, new vlog. So this week it's Monday the 18th of March. I'm driving up to Brisbane. I've got a flight which flies me from Brisbane out to Longreach. I've got a Longreach Magistrates Court matter on tomorrow morning. So that'll be all very interesting. It's pretty outback there. I've never been to Longreach Magistrates Court before, so it will be definitely an interesting experience getting out there. Then on Wednesday, I've got a clear day. I've got to catch up on a lot of sort of marketing and paperwork, admin sort of stuff. You always need one of those days every now and again to catch up on stuff that just builds up. Stack of emails. Thursday, I've got a Southport Magistrates Court matter on the Gold Coast, and also on Friday, I've also got a Southport Magistrates Court matter. That matter was actually initially up at Proserpine Magistrates Court. My client got caught on Hamilton Island whilst he was on holiday, but we were able to get that matter transferred down to Southport. So that's in on Friday, and that should do us for the week. So we'll see you throughout the week.
You're out of touch, I'm out of time, but I'm out of my head when you're not around. You're out of touch, I'm out of time, but I'm out of my head when you're not around. You're out of touch, I'm out of time.
So on the way through to Longreach, we stopped off at Blackall Airport, where we dropped about a third of the passengers off before travelling on to Longreach, which was about a 40-minute trip after that. So I landed in Longreach Airport. I wasn't sure whether I'd need a car for the 24 hours that I was in town or whether I could just walk around. The car rental guy assured me that where I was staying was just outside the airport and walking distance, and that the courthouse was a little bit of a walk towards the other side of town, but very doable. So I just decided to use my feet and walked to where I was staying at the Saltbush Retreat, and on the way there I was able to walk past the Qantas Founders Museum and check out some of the old relics, aviation relics, which were on display there. So when I got to the outskirts of the airport, I got to the Saltbush Retreat, I checked in, and I got to my accommodation, which was really cool. It was like a old-fashioned country-style cabin, but it had all the modern fixtures and fittings. So old-fashioned bed, corrugated iron roof, had ironing board, it had a fridge, it had a TV, nice Chesterfield leather chair there, kitchenette, the bathroom was clean and modern fittings. So it was it really had everything that I could have wanted, with a bit of an old-fashioned country theme to it. Just got into Longreach, which is dead set smack bang in the middle of Queensland. It is Outback Australia at its best. Pretty bumpy flight in. It was a one of the twin propeller Qantas Link aeroplanes. Flew from Brisbane, stopped in at Blackall for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes on the tarmac, didn't even get off. A few others who were getting off at Blackall got off. We were then back in the air for probably about another half an hour before we, 40 minutes, and then we got into Longreach. So it's distinctively hotter here in Longreach. There's like a billion flies. They just come out of nowhere. It's like they've just been waiting for me.
constantly doing the old Bushman salute, knocking them all away. But yeah, I mean, listen, Longreach is like vastly different to obviously big city living, but it's a different style living, and it's Outback Australia. It is what it is. I've got matter in court tomorrow, high range drink drive. Client's got a pretty bad history. He's obviously made a bit of a name for himself in the town over the years, but he has had his own mental and medical health challenges he's had to deal with. So we're all set, prepared, got our material ready to go for tomorrow. I'm staying at the the Salt Bush Retreat, which is a pretty cool little place to stay. But it is sort of on the other end of the town to where the courthouse is. I'm just going for a walk into town. It's about 2.5 kilometres in. Going to the Birdcage Hotel for a good pub feed and a nice refreshing cold ale. So I'll see what that's like and report back soon.
You're out of touch, I'm out of time, but I'm out of my head when you're not around. You're out of touch, I'm out.
So it's the morning of court. I've just woken up just after sunrise. Beautiful Outback, traditional, typical sunrise. So I think the best way to kick off the day is to get up and go for a run into town, where I can see some of the sights and sounds, the best part of the day, and most importantly, grab myself a bit of caffeine, a nice coffee. And it's not every day you see a horse and cart travelling down the street.
Way out back in the middle of Queensland at Longreach Magistrates Court. So today I've appeared on a high range drink driving offence for my client. The reading was 0.150, so just on the cusp of high range. Unfortunately for my client, his traffic record was no good. He had a low range drink drive 11 years ago, and he had a very serious criminal offence of evading police only 3 years ago. So not much you can do about traffic record, but the events of this matter occurred early in December 2023. So he's been off the road now for about 3.5 months. 2 weeks prior to the incident, his girlfriend had broken up with him. He was down and out, he was depressed. His friends took him, decided to invite him along to Birdcage Hotel just down the road here for a bite to eat, a few drinks. He got there about 6 p.m, first drink then, last drink about 11 p.m. About 10 p.m, his ex-girlfriend turns up with her new boyfriend. My client did not handle this well, ended up having a bit of an emotional meltdown, ended up having an argument with her, and then deciding to do the right thing, he removed himself from that volatile situation, but he went about it all wrong. He jumped into his car, he drove out of town, calmed himself down for about 90 minutes. Then on the way back, he was driving back into town without his headlights on, so he did attract a bit of attention to himself that way. Police pulled him over on Glass Street, just down the road from where he lives, and breath tested him. He was positive. Final BAC, blood alcohol concentration reading 0.150, so he's just slipped into the high range category there. Now our guys, he's had significant mental and medical health issues. When he's 29 years of age, when he was 21, he was diagnosed with lymphoma cancer. He had to go through extensive treatment, chemotherapy. He's had significant personal losses and relationship breakdowns in his life. So these all been challenging for him from a mental health perspective. He works full time though. He's works in heavy earth moving. Obviously, he's need to drive
to get out to these job sites is pretty important. So the last 3.5 months he's been relying on friends and family and paying people to drive him out there, just to maintain his job, because that is the big stabilising factor in his life. So yeah, I press that to the court that, you know, any time off the road is not going to be easy for him, especially given the region he lives in Longreach. There's no public transport around. It's hard to get to work sites. He went and did the traffic offenders program for the first time ever, so that was to his credit. Shows dedication to ensure that he doesn't want to come back before the court again. Put on a good strong letter of apology, 3 character references, traffic offender program certificate was there. Magistrate was from out of town, dealt with him before at Redcliffe Magistrates Court. But he was receptive to everything we said, understood that it was not his plan to drive that night. It was due to some unexpected emotional triggers which set him off. But even though we can't use that as an excuse, it does give the court a bit of understanding and insight into where his head was at that night. We were pushing for the minimum disqualification, especially considering he's already done about 3 months off the road. So 6 months was given, $1,200 fine, and he will probably have to do the alcohol interlock program once he gets his licence back. We're very relieved and happy client today. We're definitely Outback today in the middle of Queensland, probably furthest out I've been to a courthouse, but it's been a delight. People out here are just lovely, and my client, most importantly, was extremely happy with the outcome today. So thanks for tuning in here in Outback, Queensland.
So here's the Qantas Museum out at Longreach. Obviously got a 747 there, pretty big, impressive bit of machinery, and then a couple of older planes over there in the background. One's really old here, got the old-fashioned symbol, flying kangaroo. And then over here we've got some aeroplane stairs. Must be like some vintage ones. Certainly you don't see them that sort of style anymore. But yeah, it's a pretty cool little Qantas museum, kind of in the middle of absolutely nowhere. I mean, the Longreach Airport's just over the back here, and that's where I'm walking back to. Guys, midweek update with the Travelling Lawyer vlog. I'm on the Gold Coast today. I've got a matter at Southport Magistrates Court. It's a pretty low level reading, or it's a low range drink driving offence. It's 0.066. I guess the tricky thing about this matter is that our client was involved in a 2-vehicle crash. The other driver of the motorbike actually ran a red light, so they were actually at fault, and they're the ones that caused the actual collision. But police don't mention that in the police fact sheet. All they mention is that our client was involved in a 2-vehicle collision, and that's why they attended the scene and subsequently breath tested my client. He'd just got back from a flight from being over in New Zealand, had a couple of drinks on the plane and was headed home, and but for this person running a red light, he would have made it home safely and probably never had to even call me or be charged or have to go to court. So one of those things that if you're driving with any alcohol in your system, it might not necessarily be your fault as to what you're doing on the road. You could be just driving along normally, but if something does happen, like a small accident like this, and the police arrive at the scene, they usually do mandatory breath testing for all people involved in an accident. And yeah, even if you're doing the right thing and you're a little bit over the limit and it wasn't your fault, then you're going to get charged, and that's unfortunately what happened to my client. So we're going to try and go in and try to explain to the court that really the crash was not an aggravating feature for my client's matter, because the reading was so low and it wasn't his fault anyway. We are obviously pushing for the minimum you can get in Queensland is 1 month off the road for a low range drink driving offence, and we'll try and hopefully get that for him today. But yeah, it's a pretty wet and windy day on the Gold Coast, so just trying to brave the rain. Outside Southport Magistrates Court on the Gold Coast. I've appeared on a low-range drink drive offence today, .066. Client was involved in a car crash. Now, the car crash was not his fault though. He'd come back from New Zealand, where he was on a aeroplane. He'd had 3 wines in 4 hours. Believed he was under the limit, got in the car to drive home. On the way home, another driver of a motorbike has run a red light and crashed into him. So that's obviously how he came to the attention of police. They then breath tested him. .066 was the reading. It was a little bit iffy today how the magistrate would take the crash, because there was nothing in the facts to say the other person had been charged with running a red light, but we followed the arresting police officer out and they did confirm that with us verbally. So that was a submission that I could make to the court today. And the magistrate agreed that .066 was such a low reading that it would have played an insignificant role in the crash anyway, and then being told that the other person ran a red light, that was basically what the cause of the crash was. But for the other person running the red light, our client would not have been involved in the crash and would not have been charged. In any event, we explained that he cooperated with police, sole occupant of the vehicle, nothing really aggravated about the matter or his offending. He has been going through a terrible time. He's lost his sister 3 years ago to suicide, and then his stepfather only in September due to brain cancer. He's been back and forth from New Zealand caring for his mum. And on the night of the offence, he just arrived back from New Zealand, had 3 wines over 4 hours on the plane, and thought he was fine to drive. He did the traffic offenders program. He does have a similar offence 20 years ago in Toowoomba, .069 that was, very low reading. But it was such a long time ago that little weight was given to that old historic offence. He does have a new job lined up as an electrician, full-time work, which pays good, and he's hoping to get that job. But really any significant time off the road would likely see him lose starting that job. He's been trying to delay the start of that job for hopefully a month, and that's what we're pushing for, the minimum period of 1 month off the road. That was granted. He was given $300 fine and no conviction recorded. So for a plea guilty, low range, it's pretty much the best outcome he could have got in relation to the laws of Queensland and traffic laws of Queensland. It's a very happy client, relieved client today. He can move forward knowing and hoping that he can get this new job and move forward. I don't think we'll see him again before the court system ever again. Thanks for tuning in here on the Gold Coast. So I've just finished off the final matter for this week at Southport Magistrates Court on the Gold Coast. It was a middle range drink driving offence. Reading was definitely at the top end, or getting up towards the top end of the middle range category at 0.135. I guess the unusual matter issues surrounding this matter was the fact that our client was caught driving a golf buggy on Hamilton Island in early January this year. So pulled over, had passengers without their seatbelts on. He didn't have his seatbelt on. That's obviously what brought him to the attention of police. And then obviously breath tested, and 0.135. I guess my client, he was kind of didn't turn his mind to the fact that driving a golf buggy was still operating a legal vehicle on a road or road-related area, and he was still technically breaking the law by driving with alcohol in his system. He was probably somewhat naive to think that he was not doing anything wrong, but quickly had to face reality when the police proceeded to charge him with that drink driving offence. Matter was initially put over to Proserpine Magistrates Court, which is that court in that regional area around Whitsundays, because my client was travelling from Sydney, New South Wales. We decided to plead guilty but get the matter transferred down to Southport on the Gold Coast, so it was more easy for him to come and attend the sentence hearing. We had a couple of letters. We had a letter of apology from him, a letter of reference. He did the traffic offenders program. And the other major hurdle for my client was that only about just on 4 years ago, he was charged with a high-range drink driving offence down in Sydney. And the police prosecution did tender his previous traffic record, albeit they did not allege that it was a prior. They didn't issue us with a notice to allege a prior offence, which is kind of a notice or a certificate to say that they're seeking to categorise our client as a second or repeat offender, where the minimum period of disqualifications automatically increase. They did not do that, but they did stress to the court that it was not his first offence, and they handed up his prior traffic record from New South Wales. So whilst the minimum period was still at 3 months, like it would be for a first-time offender, there was certainly no taking away from the fact it was obvious that this was not his first drink drive matter before the court. And the previous one, only 4 years ago, was of a high range reading as well. So that was an aggravating feature. It had to be taken into account by the court, and our client was well aware of that. We did go in low, pushing for 3 months with some time served already, but he was given a period of 6 months off the road, and that's predominantly due to the reading being at the higher end and the prior high range drink drive. So that was definitely within range and a reasonable sort of outcome for our client today. He was sort of concerned that he might be looking at a year off the road, and certainly if this matter had been categorised as a second or repeat offence, if the police prosecutions had have been on their game and issued a notice to allege prior offence certificate, that might have been the case, but they didn't do that. 6 months off the road. He will have to do the mandatory alcohol interlock program, and he was issued a fine of $1,100. So he was very happy with that outcome. As mentioned, he was concerned he could be spending a year off the road, but 6 months will he's happy with that. So that's our matter. That was the matter today. He's come up from Sydney. He's going to spend the weekend here. Then he'll fly back. And he's now got a clear path moving forward. The only probably issue that will pop up is that this is a Queensland order that he has to do the interlock program He will have to get this order transferred down to New South Wales Transport Department to attach to his New South Wales license once that's given back to him in 6 months' time. So there might be a bit of paperwork involved, but it won't be a difficult process. It happens quite regularly. People committing drink driving offences when they reside in a different state. So thanks for tuning in. That's the last matter for this week, and tune in next week. I think I'm heading to Albury. I've got a few matters: Albury, Beaudesert, Goondiwindi, and maybe something else later in the week. So I'll check you back in there.
I want to thank you for tuning into Boorman Lawyers today. You can catch us at any of the usual social media platforms. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you've got any questions or queries, please don't hesitate to contact us on 1300 941 900. Hey guys, thanks for tuning into this video today. I really hope it was informative and helpful for you. There's another couple of videos below that you might want to check out that may be very useful for the process that you might be going through at the moment. Please feel free to like, follow, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel because we've always got fresh new content coming through all the time.